Hey guys, what's going on? This is Thompson here. Just wanted to bring you a quick tutorial on how you can go from being a beginner in this new and upcoming game to a more skilled, more competitive player. The game is called Deadlock. It's a new shooter MOBA type of game. If you're into these type of games or just want to try something new, I definitely recommend it. It is highly addictive but very fun to play. With that being said, let's get right into it. So the biggest thing is once you load into the game, when you get into a new game as a new hero, you're going to have a default build. The default build is very vague. It doesn't have a lot included into it. It's just some basics that you can pick up to learn your class, learn your character, but there's really not a lot of options. However, there's a fix for this. There is a browse build tabs when you go into. You're going to go hit browse builds and you're going to go into the public tab. There's tons of builds that players that have played the game since release have already theory crafted into what they think is the best build for them. So a lot of times I would go for like a popular or trending build. We're just going to go for this one, Infernal Fighter. Shout out to the person that made this build. Rule of thumb when you're going into the shop, you always want to read it from left to right. So if you're unsure like what to buy first, what you're looking at, you're going to go into categories. There's 3 different tiers, and a lot of the builds that you see will have it marked early, mid, and late game. So you're going to read it from left to right, top to bottom. So in the early game stage, you're going to want to fill out your board and buy all of these additions to your character. So let's say you have everything you need to buy all of these. You're just going to go left to right. Boom, as simple as that. And then once you get to more mid tier or late game tiers, you'll know that, as you are more experienced, you'll know how much it costs, the amount of souls that you need to get said abilities or upgrades. So then you'll start going back to the shop and so on and so forth. But again, just left to right, you just want to finish out the tier that you're at and then go to the next one. And then once you get more advanced, you can start picking up luxury type of items. This are like flex slots, things like that. Whatever it meets your play style. So that's just a big thing with the shop. As well as once you pick that build, if you're unsure of what to max first or what to use, the build will actually give you a suggestion as to what to max first. So I already maxed this stuff out here. But you can see here that it's highlighted in blue. This is the recommended next ability. You upgrade that. Once you get enough points, it has you upgrade that, and then this, and then that. So you can see it just has like a suggestion for you. It's a little tooltip, so you don't really have to think too much about it. You could just play the game, go to the shop, have a nice little clean view of what you need, left to right, purchase it, and enjoy the game. So that's pretty much it for that side. Alright guys, so for step number 2, this is another tip or trick that I've learned through my time playing Deadlock, is that melee is insane. It is insanely strong early on and pretty strong late game depending on what type of character that you use, if they're very melee dependent, depending on how you build, right? But early on, the reason why it's so big is because you can use a charge attack. It's bound to Q. Your charged attack will automatically consume the soul of a minion that drops a soul. So for example, if you're at a distance, you kill a minion, a soul will drop. That soul can potentially be contested by an enemy player. If they shoot it, they get to consume some of the souls that you would have gained. Now, if you run up and you actually melee attack that, you consume all the souls and you don't risk the enemy being able to take that. If you can't melee every minion, that's fine. Generally, you want to melee as much as you can to deny them the ability to take your souls. But if you need to shoot it from a distance, just know that soul will come out and try to shoot that for yourself to gain that currency, to gain that revenue. There is a light charge, so there's a heavy charge melee attack, and then there's a light melee attack. It's almost never better to use the light heavy. You always want to charge it for the maximum damage. And in the event that you're fighting someone one-on-one or 2v2, whatever, and they use their charged melee attack, you do have another ability called parry. So this is bound to F key. While they're charging up an attack, as they're about to hit you, you can use the parry, and that will stun them for a duration of time, where you can then use your own charge attack on them or use one of your abilities and kind of turn the trade or, you know, win that trade. So that's always a big thing. Parry, I believe, is on a 3.5 second cooldown. So use it to your liking. Use it as much as you can. And just remember that's also an ability that's useful. So again, melee super strong. Definitely try to get good with it and try to prioritize that while farming. Alright guys, so for the third tip that I wanted to bring up, this is actually going to be a little bit more in depth into laning phase. So this is in regards to the tower. So the first line of defense for every enemy is going to be the guardian tower here. You have to be in a certain range in order to do damage to it. If you're not in that range, you won't do any damage. However, if you're in the line of sight without any of your minions, it will aggro you, so whoever's closer. And as you can see, it does tons of damage. So you want to avoid being in line of sight of that until your minions actually push up. If you try to attack it before your minions are there, it takes reduced damage. So it's almost never better to try to do damage to it without your minions. Once your minions are in your lane, as you can see, it'll prioritize whoever's closer to it, and you can get in there and do a lot of damage. Once your minions die, just back up and avoid taking that extra damage from the tower. In addition to that, while you're laning against an enemy, if you cannot farm your minions freely without the possibility of dying, if the enemy is harassing you too much, you have really low health, and they're just harassing you to the point where if you push up and try to get a minion, you'll die. It's always best to just go back to your base. So there's a few items that you can get that'll heal you up for a little bit, but if you just find yourself in a position where you just can't farm, just take the zip line, go back to the base, heal up. It's almost always better to reset and, you know, refresh your health versus trying to greed 1 to 2 minions and get a couple souls and then risk dying. Because if you die, you're just giving the enemy tons more revenue than they would have gained if you had just went back and healed yourself. So that's always a good thing to remember. You can always go back. Don't try to greed souls. Unless you know what you're able to get away with. Of course, that's player by player basis and comes with experience. So but alright guys, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give a couple tips and tricks on how you can perform a little bit better early game. This is kind of the early game laning phase. If you like anything that you've heard, if if this helped out any bit, feel free to like and subscribe. If you dislike the video, feel free to comment why. Let me know feedback. All feedback is good feedback, and I appreciate everybody watching the video. Thanks for your time. Cheers.